Hi, Gary Stearman coming to you from Prophecy Watchers. In studio with me today for a very short period of time is Jan Markell. I'll bet you've heard her on Christian radio. She broadcasts coast to coast, border to border, and she brings the gospel to life with lots of guests and lots of great programs. Jan Markell, welcome to
Thank you,
Prophecy
Gary.
Watchers.
Always happy to be here. Thank you.
And for those who may not have heard you on the radio, tell us what you do.
I started Understanding the Times Radio in 2001. It's heavily an interview program. We cover apologetics, current events very heavily, eschatology, because it's just needed out there. It encourages the flock. We cover politics. I have some good politicians on every now and then. So we just talk about what in the world is going on, and often always from a biblical perspective, always.
And there is so much going on
Yeah.
today. We're going to be speaking for the next few minutes here, and we don't have enough time to talk about everything. But what has captivated most of your interest in the last year or so?
I think the pushback in America to all things conservative Christian, I think that the antics of the left are extremely troubling right now. I think that they're almost begging for some kind of a crisis, and we know eventually who's going to take advantage of a crisis. His name is Mr. Antichrist. Now that's down the road a little bit. But I think if the left keeps pushing as they are pushing for pushing back against righteous people and righteousness and conservative values, I think there's going to be some kind of an explosion.
You know, they're calling themselves the resistance.
They
now.
are. That's a World War II term.
And it is a World War II term, and I think it was deliberately chosen.
It was, yes.
So we're living in what the Bible calls perilous times.
Exactly.
And that peril is physical, it is spiritual,
That's right.
it is demonic,
That's
in
right.
my opinion. And we do see, I think, an increasing demonic activity, more overt. We see it in the types of crimes that are being committed today, heinous crimes,
Yeah.
almost unspeakable
Yeah.
crimes are being committed today, and then mass shootings by people who go in and shoot up a place, whether it's a school or a municipal building, and then they after they do all the shooting, they're taken to some police station where they have this blank stare on their face, like they don't even know what they have just done, and I think you know where I'm going with
Well,
this.
I know where my mind is going. Then these people are going to eventually say they heard voices telling them to do it.
Exactly. And so it's a time when everything's being unleashed.
Yeah.
And that's why we at Prophecy Watchers, and I know after having talked with you for a while, I know you have the same feeling. We think that it's imperative to get out the message, not only of the gospel, but of the condition of the church, the destination of the church. Get on board, because the church is where it's at.
Yeah, the church is where it's at, and to continue feeding the remnant. I mean, that's my goal, and we do it through radio. We do it through conferences. I'm having one again this fall on September 29th. We're pretty much sold out, but we're offering live streaming absolutely free on Saturday, September 29th. I'm having Pastor Jack Hibbs, Pastor Billy Crone, Pastor J.D. Farag, Eric Barger, and the fifth one, Mir Sarfati, and he's the headliner, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, we have a great time, and folks come, as they do with you, Gary, come across country.
And I'm really happy that you're going to join us for our prophecy forum later on, October 12th through 14th. Right here on the southern side of Oklahoma City, and you'll get to kind of get the feel for the Oklahoma climate here. By the way, in October, the weather is beautiful.
It is in Minnesota as well. Yeah.
But Jan is really passionate about getting this message out. You know, let's talk for a moment about conferences. You and I have a similar experience. When we do conferences, people come up to us and say, "Thank you for doing
Yeah.
this. My church does not teach this."
Exactly.
And I know you've heard the same thing.
They come up with tears in their eyes because they love this kind of a message. It's one of the few messages of hope out there. And they love the look at current events.
Yeah.
and how they are playing into the Bible and how the Bible is playing out today. They love the like-minded fellowship of people who think like they do and believe like they do and are looking up like they are. They have a hard time finding it other than certain destinations. And again, they're willing to drive across country to be together.
Hi, Gary Stearman with a very special announcement from Prophecy Watchers. Bob Ulrich, we've got a lot to talk about.
We do. It's an exciting time to be alive as the prophecies of the Bible come to pass right before our eyes. Have a big conference coming up, October 12th through 14th. We're going to be celebrating the 70th anniversary of Israel at the second annual Blessed Hope Prophecy Forum at the Embassy Suites Hotel in Norman, Oklahoma, October 12th through 14th. You can register for the event at prophecywatchers.com or call us toll-free at the phone number on your screen.
And Bob, we have the top speakers in the world of Bible prophecy.
A conference like no other. 32 speakers: L.A. Marzulli, Bill Salas, Jan Markell, David Reagan, Mark Hitchcock, Terry James. The names just go on and on. 32 speakers in one event.
Not much time. You need to register now. Gary Stearman for Prophecy Watchers saying, see you there. Well, I'm going to ask you a question that I don't want to hit you with one you can't answer, but and maybe it has no answer, but why do you think churches fail to teach Bible prophecy?
Well, Pastor Tom Hughes wrote a brilliant article on that a couple of years ago, and I can't remember all of his bullet points, but some of them, and I agree with them. The pastors, the churches feel it won't fill up the sanctuary, it'll drive people away, they feel it'll scare people. Some of the things we've talked about are a little ominous. Mm-hmm. They feel offerings will go down. They feel if, according to this is Tom's article, which was so good, if they're planning on a building program, well, who's going to give to the building program if the Lord's coming back tomorrow? These were, and then another points he had, some of these men aren't trained in seminary to teach this. Mm-hmm. Some of them are trained to believe anything you want, so they don't have solid teaching. And so they just feel insecure to teach this topic.
And I think that's a very good answer, by the way. Mm-hmm. To me, it just seems like 2 + 2 to integrate Bible prophecy into Bible teaching.
It should be no-brainer stuff.
It should be, because the Bible is prophecy. Yeah. You know, a lot of people say, well, I think the Bible is a third prophecy, and some other people, no, I think it's one half of all Scripture is prophecy. I think that the whole Bible is prophecy, mm-hmm. because it starts with, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and it ends with, and I saw a new heavens and a new mm-hmm. earth. And in between, you have this timeline. And the timeline is prophetic from one end to the other. So I think the whole Bible is prophecy.
Yeah, and I often ask my radio guests, particularly if they're pastors, I will often say, why don't we close, and why don't you, whoever my guest is, why don't you talk to pastors for the next 5 minutes and tell them why this is an important message, tell them why this is a lifeline of a message today in a world of darkness, despair. This is the one good news. And then they'll do it just as I've asked. And it's very effective when a pastor can talk to a pastor and said, look, our church has grown exponentially because I talk about this.
And I think it's very good that on your radio program, you're always bringing your audience up to speed on developments in the current church, both positive and negative.
Positive and negative.
A lot negative going on.
Yeah, and that when Terry James asked me to do a chapter in his book on the deception in the church, and this was over a year ago, and when I sat down to actually do a chapter, I realized I need to do a book, because to cover the emergent church or the seeker-sensitive movement, say in 3 paragraphs, is impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible. To cover the fact that the church has dropped Israel, I can't cover that in 3 paragraphs. I need 3 or 4 chapters, which is sad commentary, but that too is fulfilling Scripture.
And you mentioned Israel, and there's the boycott,
divest, sanction,
which shocks me every time I think about it. What's going on there?
Yeah, and that's heavily mainline Protestants that are trying to crush Israel's economy by boycotting them, divesting, and sanctioning them. And they feel if they could crush, let's just, for example, her exporting of oranges, that's going to so hurt their economy that eventually, if everyone does this, Israel will collapse as a nation. Well, what's biblical about that? Genesis 12:3 is promising a curse on you for doing that.
I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you.
Yeah.
I've heard that referred to as curse for curse in kind, meaning that whatever you try to do to Israel will be done right back to you. And that includes blessing,
and
too.
that includes blessing. And I believe, Gary, I believe one of the reasons God is blessing your outreach and mine is we do bless Israel. With every opportunity we can, we bless Israel.
And we rejoice when we see things happening that honor Israel. The recent move from
Amen.
Tel Aviv to Jerusalem,
Fantastic.
the embassy, I think that's more significant than most people realize.
I do too, and I think, frankly, I'm surprised there wasn't a greater uproar against it. And perhaps there still will be, but it was minor compared to what I was anticipating.
And well, the Palestinians didn't like it very much.
Well, they don't like anything, and yet they're supposedly Israel's peace partner, and supposedly Israel's going to be forced again to do some kind of concessions.
We are friends of Israel. And why are we friends of Israel? Because we read and believe the Bible, and we believe the promises, prophetic promises that were made to Israel are valid to this very day. Now, that opens up the rest of the subject, which is we also believe the prophetic promises made to the church.
Yes.
And it's all sort of one fast-flowing stream of information.
Yes, and Christ died for his church, and even though it isn't perfect, he loves his church.
Well, her name is Jan Markell. You can find her on Christian radio in your city. I'm sure that your city carries her when you least expect it. So be looking around. By the way, Google will always enable you to find her with the local radio station, right?
Yes, they will. olivetreeviews.org is the website, and I hope to meet some of your followers, Gary. Our followers cross each other, so I will.
Well, it's good to talk to you, Jan.
Thank you.
And may the Lord bless you in
And
your
you.
work and those who are surrounding you.
Thank you.
I'm Gary Stearman. Hey, keep watching. We are. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.